Good evening. Welcome to the 2025 OMEA Jazz Reading Session presented by Stanton Sheet Music. My name is Ken Tilger. I'm a member of the Band and Orchestra Department at Stanton's, and it's my pleasure to present live two sets of really fantastic jazz ensemble charts this evening. Before we begin, I have a few thank yous. First, to OMEA for hosting the session, to Marriott for hosting us as well. Thank you in advance to all the fine musicians you're about to hear this evening. It's going to be a spoken band, and the charts are going to sound fantastic. I'd also like to thank Eric Van Wagner for running sound for us tonight. And most of all, I also want to thank Zach Compston, Vice President of Education and Community Engagement for Jazz Arts Group Columbus, for assembling the band, for collaborating on putting together the set list for tonight's performance, and for leading our session. So without further ado, Zach Compston and the Stanton's Jazz Reading Band.
That's Scott Garlock on the trombone right there. Mark Russo on the trumpets, Bobby Salvaggio on the alto saxophone, and Robert Dove on the tenor saxophone. My name is Zach Compston. A huge thank you to Ken Tilger and the folks at Stanton Sheet Music. We are the OMEA Jazz Reading Band. Stanton Sheet Music, I'm going to say it a few times, but we're very fortunate in the state of Ohio to have a music store, a retail store, not only able to sell you music, but to work with you to get you what you need, to provide you with the latest technology in terms of listening and sending links to your students and everything that they provide. It's based in Ohio, and so we're really grateful to have Stanton Sheet Music. How about one round of applause for Stanton Sheet Music? We are here playing a bunch of published material, although that's not all there is, but in the case of this session, we're going to play a bunch of published material that you could consider purchasing, or that just might inspire you to kind of think about other things you might program for your jazz band. That first piece was a piece called Full House. It was written by an amazing guitar player, grew up in the Midwest and became an absolute legend of the guitar, Mr. Wes Montgomery, and arranged by Mike Kamuf on the Belwin publishing company. And we're going to move on to another Mike Kamuf chart. This one is a nice hard shuffle on an American sort of standard patriotic song, so to speak. This is Battle Hymn of the Republic. Russo on the trumpets, Brad Wagner over there on the tenor saxophone. Battle Hymn of the Republic, arranged by Mike Kim. I think that was another Belwin chart. We're going to move on now to an original piece by a composer named Steve Briody. It's a bit of a ballad, but it's got kind of a rock feel. And for those of you that are sort of dipping your toes in some jazz literature, this could be a nice, sort of inroad for your band. But nonetheless, it's a nice piece. This one's entitled 10 Miles from Home. Bobby Salvaggio on the alto saxophone. That was a piece called 10 Miles from Home. And I want to take a moment to start to introduce some of the folks in the band. One of the things I am very fortunate to get to do is curate a band that is A, representative of the city that OMEA is in, but bring together not only great musicians that can play and laugh right behind me while I wonder what they're talking about, but who are resources to you all as music educators. And so each one of these folks is someone that is available to you, whether that's in your city or via email or Google Meets or Zoom or whatever it may be, because everyone on the stage is passionate about students and the people that we teach, receiving a jazz education. First and foremost, I come from the Jazz Arts Group in Columbus. I live in Columbus, Ohio. Columbus is home not only to state and sheet music, but America's oldest nonprofit jazz organization, the Jazz Arts Group, where I've been the education director for 12 years. That means I have the privilege of going through Columbus City schools, suburban Columbus schools, as well as a bunch of programming in our own space at the Lincoln Theater, and I get to do this for a living. But I would also like to introduce our saxophone section, starting with our lead alto saxophonist. This is Bobby Salvaggio. You can give him a round of applause. Bobby is a professor of music at Penn State University, where he heads up the jazz department there and does really amazing work. Next to him, this is Chris Coles on the alto saxophone. Chris is at the University of Akron, and between those two schools, I mean there are many others, but just those two alone, there's some saxophone playing going on in those two schools, and it's thanks to these two guys. And next to Chris, this is Brad Wagner, tenor saxophonist. A fun feature about this band is that we have a lot of representation from the Cleveland Jazz Orchestra. These two gentlemen, as well as several that you'll hear from as we go. On the other tenor saxophone chair, that's Robert Dove. Rob Dove is from Columbus, Ohio, but after a tour of the West Coast, is returning back to Columbus. He's a second-generation educator and a musician, and works for Jazz Arts Group as a resident teaching artist in a number of our programs. And holding down the baritone saxophone chair, that's George Sheridan, everyone. George is another member of the Cleveland Jazz Orchestra, where he's also the personnel manager and works for the Jupiter Instrument Company. So up front here, we got some amazing players. Give it one more round of applause for the saxophones. A Duke Ellington composition, and Hal Leonard in recent years has done a really nice job of writing arrangements that are perhaps sort of scaffolded all the way down to sort of middle school, early high school level, but maintain the integrity of the originals, the classics that they're based on. And this is a good example of that. This is a 12-bar blues, for those of you that are jazz educators or educators. This is a great form that you can teach your students, but on a really important piece of repertoire, and it's Duke Ellington's Creole Love Call. Malden on the trombone, George Sheridan on the baritone, Joe Nichols on the bass, Mark Russo on the trumpet. Oh, sorry, there's Joe on the piano. I just met you for the first time today. How about Joe on the piano?